"I don't have a mother. Would you accept being my mother today on my birthday?" said the girl to the rich businesswoman. The mahogany door of the executive suite swings open without a knock. Margaret Thompson, 45, CEO of Thompson Industries, doesn't look up from her laptop screen. Her manicured fingers freeze mid-keystroke when she notices the small shadow cast across her Persian rug. A little girl, no more than 8 years old, stands in the doorway. Her clothes are clean but clearly second-hand, a faded pink dress and worn sneakers that have seen better days. In her tiny hands, she clutches a crumpled piece of newspaper. "Excuse me?" Margaret's voice cuts through the silence like ice. "How did you get past security?" The child doesn't flinch. Her enormous blue eyes meet Margaret's steel-grey gaze with surprising courage. She takes one small step forward, her chin lifted with determination that seems far too mature for her age. "Ma'am," the little girl's voice trembles slightly but remains clear, "today is my birthday and I don't have a mommy. Would you please be my mommy, just for today?" Margaret's perfectly manicured hand hovers over the red security button. Her schedule shows the Japanese investors arriving in exactly 12 minutes, a deal worth $47 million hanging in the balance. "Child, this is a corporate office, not a daycare center." Her voice carries the authority that has intimidated board members for 2 decades. "Where are your parents?" The little girl shifts her weight but doesn't retreat. "My daddy works 3 jobs. He said all the important mommies work up high in the sky." She points toward the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. "I picked you because your eyes look sad like mine do sometimes." Something twists in Margaret's chest. An unfamiliar sensation she quickly suppresses. She studies the child more carefully now. Despite the worn clothes, there's an unmistakable dignity in how she stands, shoulders straight, meeting Margaret's intimidating stare without cowering. "What's your name?" Margaret finds herself asking, though she's not sure why. "Emma Rodriguez." The girl's voice grows stronger. "I walked up 52 flights of stairs because the elevator needs a special card. My legs hurt really bad, but I didn't give up because today's important." Margaret's breath catches. 52 floors. This child climbed 52 floors. She glances at her Louboutin heels, remembering how her feet ache after walking just across the parking garage. "I brought you something." Emma unfolds the newspaper clipping with careful reverence. It's a photo from last year's Businesswoman of the Year ceremony, Margaret standing alone on stage, holding her crystal trophy. "My daddy keeps this picture. He says you're the most successful lady in the whole city, but in the photo you look like you need a hug too." The words hit Margaret like a physical blow. She stares at the image, herself surrounded by applause, smiling that practiced smile she's perfected for cameras. But the child is right. Even she can see it now. The emptiness behind her eyes, the way she stands apart from everyone else. What Emma didn't know was that this moment would change both their lives forever. Margaret's finger finally presses the security button. 2 uniformed guards appear within 30 seconds, their faces stern and professional. "Remove this child from the premises immediately," she commands, her voice returning to its familiar coldness. "However she got in here, make sure it doesn't happen again." Emma's small body tenses, but she doesn't move toward the guards. Instead, she reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small handmade birthday card, constructed from folded notebook paper and colored with crayons. "I made this for whoever would be my mommy today," she says quietly, extending the card toward Margaret. "It says, 'Thank you for loving me on my special day.'" The guard nearest to Emma steps forward, his large hand reaching for her shoulder. Margaret sees the man's massive frame towering over the tiny girl and feels an unexpected surge of protection. The feeling is so foreign she almost doesn't recognize it. "Wait." The word escapes before Margaret can stop it. Both guards freeze, looking at her with confusion. Emma's face lights up with hope. "Does that mean you'll read my card?" Margaret finds herself walking around her desk, something she never does during business hours. Her heels click against the marble floor as she approaches the child. Up close, she notices details that were invisible from behind her executive fortress. Emma's hair has been carefully braided by inexperienced hands, probably her father's. Her nails are bitten short from nervousness. There's a small bandage on her knee, likely from the climb up the stairs. You climbed 52 flights of stairs, Margaret states, more to herself than to Emma. Why didn't you choose an office on a lower floor? Emma's smile is radiant and heartbreakingly innocent. Because my teacher said the best mummies work the hardest to reach the top, and you're at the very tippy top of the whole building. The guards exchange glances, waiting for instructions. Margaret's phone buzzes, a text about the investors being early, but she finds herself unable to look away from Emma's expectant face. "Ma'am," one guard prompts, "should we escort her out?" Margaret stares at the homemade card in Emma's outstretched hand. When was the last time someone had made something specifically for her? Margaret takes the card with trembling fingers. She hopes no one notices. The construction paper feels rough against her palms, so different from the smooth contracts and polished presentations that usually fill her hands. The front shows a stick figure drawing of two people holding hands under a rainbow. One figure wears a triangle dress and has long yellow hair like Margaret's. The other is much smaller with brown braids. Above them, in careful 7-year-old handwriting, "Happy birthday to me and happy new mommy day to you." Inside, the message continues. "Dear new mommy, thank you for making my 8th birthday special. I promise to be good and not ask for too much. Love, Emma. P.S. I hope you're not too lonely anymore." Margaret's vision blurs slightly. The words swim on the page as something long buried stirs in her chest. When was the last time someone worried about her loneliness? "How did you know?" she whispers, her professional mask slipping for just a moment. "Know what?" Emma tilts her head with genuine curiosity. "That I was—" Margaret catches herself, straightening, but Emma is studying her face with the uncanny perception that children sometimes possess. "My daddy says successful people work so hard because they're trying to fill up an empty space inside. He says when people have love at home, they don't need to stay at work so late." Emma's voice carries no judgment, only innocent observation. The intercom crackles to life. "Mrs. Thompson, the Yamamoto group has arrived. They're waiting in conference room A." Margaret looks at the card again, then at Emma's hopeful face, then at the two security guards who are growing increasingly uncomfortable with this unusual scene. "Ma'am?" the lead guard ventures. "Your meeting?" Emma's shoulders slump slightly. She recognizes the moment of decision, the adult priorities reasserting themselves. "It's okay," she says softly. "I understand. Important work is more important than little girls." But there was something about Emma's quiet acceptance that Margaret couldn't get out of her mind. Margaret's hand hovers over her phone. One call would summon her assistant, reschedule the investors, and potentially cost her company the biggest acquisition of the decade. "Guards, you're dismissed," she announces suddenly. Both men hesitate, clearly confused by the deviation from protocol. "Ma'am, the child shouldn't be left unattended in your office," the senior guard protests. "She won't be unattended." Margaret's voice carries a strange quality none of them have heard before, softer, but somehow more certain than her usual commanding tone. "I'll be with her." Emma's gasp is audible. Her eyes grow impossibly wide as she processes what just happened. "Really? You're going to be my birthday, Mommy?" Margaret looks at the card again, at the drawing of two figures holding hands. Her throat feels tight. I don't know how to be anyone's mother, Emma. I've never done this before." "That's okay." Emma bounces on her toes. "I've never had a mommy before either. We can figure it out together." The guards exchange uncertain glances, but eventually retreat when Margaret waves them away. The office falls silent except for the subtle hum of air conditioning and the distant sounds of city traffic far below. Margaret sits down on her leather couch, an action that feels strange and informal in her own office. She pats the cushion beside her. "Come here, Emma. Tell me about yourself." Emma practically skips over, climbing onto the expensive furniture with the unconscious ease of childhood. She settles cross-legged, facing Margaret with an openness that's both refreshing and terrifying. "I live with my daddy in a little apartment. He makes the best pancakes in the morning, but only on Sundays because that's his day off. Emma's voice bubbles with enthusiasm. I love to draw pictures and I'm really good at math. My teacher says I'm exceptionally bright, but I don't know what that means exactly. It means you're very smart, Margaret explains, surprised by how natural the conversation feels. Are you smart too? Emma asks with genuine curiosity. Margaret laughs, actually laughs, for the first time in months. Some people think so. If this story is touching you, wait until you discover what happens when Emma learns about Margaret's past. Emma swings her legs from the couch, her heels bumping gently against the expensive leather. Can I ask you something personal, Miss Margaret? Of course. Margaret finds herself relaxing in a way she hadn't expected. There's something disarming about Emma's directness. No hidden agendas or corporate maneuvering, just honest curiosity. Why don't you have any kids? You seem like you'd be a really good mommy. The question hits like a punch to the solar plexus. Margaret has perfected deflecting this inquiry from colleagues, family members, even therapists over the years. But Emma's innocent face makes the standard responses feel hollow. I was always too busy building my company, Margaret answers carefully. I thought there would be time later, but later never came. Emma nods with the solemnity of someone far older. My daddy says that sometimes grown-ups forget that love is the most important job of all. Your father sounds very wise. He is. He tells me stories about my mommy every night before bed. Emma's voice grows soft but not sad. He says she was the most beautiful lady in the whole world, inside and out. She wanted me so much, but when I was born, she had to go to heaven. Margaret feels her chest tighten. That must be very hard for both of you. Sometimes. But Daddy says Mommy is watching over us, and that she'd want us to find happiness even though she can't be here. Emma looks directly at Margaret. Maybe that's why I found you today. Maybe she helped me climb all those stairs. The office feels smaller suddenly, more intimate. Margaret realizes she's been holding her breath. Emma, can I tell you something? Yes. I have a big, beautiful house with 7 bedrooms, but I eat dinner alone every night. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, but I've never bought a birthday present for someone I care about. Margaret's voice wavers slightly. How you've given me something today that I didn't even know I was missing. Emma scoots closer on the couch. What's that? Hope. The hope that maybe it's not too late to learn how to love someone. Emma reaches over and takes Margaret's perfectly manicured hand in her small warm fingers. It's never too late. That's what Daddy always says. At that moment, something shifted in the room, a feeling that destiny had just rearranged itself. Margaret's phone buzzes insistently on her desk. Through the glass walls, she can see her assistant Sarah frantically waving, pointing toward conference room A, where undoubtedly the Japanese investors are growing impatient. The Yamamoto deal represents everything Margaret has worked toward for the past 3 years: international expansion, market dominance, legacy. Emma notices the tension immediately. You have to go to your important meeting, don't you? Yes, Margaret starts, then stops. She looks at Emma's understanding expression, the way the child is already preparing to be disappointed again, to be set aside for adult priorities. Emma, tell me more about your father. What does he do for work? He cleans offices at night when everyone goes home. During the day he delivers food on his bicycle to people in tall buildings like this one. And Emma hesitates, her father's warnings about privacy echoing in her mind. And what, sweetheart? The endearment slips out before Margaret can stop it. He has a 3rd job, but he made me promise not to tell people about it because he says some folks might think less of him. Emma's loyalty to her father is evident in every word. Margaret's heart clenches. A man working 3 jobs to support his daughter, probably without benefits or security, while she sits in a corner office worrying about stock options and quarterly reports. What kind of food does he deliver? Margaret asks, though she's not sure why the details matter. Mostly to business people who work late. He says the saddest orders come from the really tall buildings because those people never go home for dinner. Emma swings her legs thoughtfully. He always includes extra napkins and sometimes a little note that says, "Hope your day gets better." Margaret's breath catches. Extra napkins. little notes of encouragement. She thinks of all the late-night meals delivered to her office over the years, how she barely glanced at the delivery person, focused only on her work. How many times might Emma's father have stood in this very lobby, hoping to brighten someone's difficult day? "Emma," Margaret's voice is barely above a whisper, "what's your father's full name?" "Miguel Angel Rodriguez, but most people just call him Mike because they say Miguel is too hard to remember." There's a flash of sadness in Emma's eyes. "Daddy doesn't mind, but I think his real name is beautiful." The room seems to spin slightly. Margaret grips the arm of the couch as memories flood back. Memories she spent years trying to bury. A young man with kind eyes and gentle hands, a voice with a slight accent saying her name like a prayer. A love she was too ambitious, too frightened, too foolish to embrace. But what Emma was about to discover would change everything she thought she knew about her family's story. Margaret's face has gone completely white. Emma scoots closer, genuinely concerned. "Miss Margaret, are you feeling sick? You look like you might faint." "Miguel Rodriguez," Margaret repeats slowly, as if testing the weight of each syllable. "How old is your father, Emma?" "He's 34. He says he was really young when I was born, but that I made him grow up fast in the best way possible." Emma studies Margaret's expression with growing worry. "Why? Do you know my daddy?" Margaret stands abruptly, walking to her desk with unsteady steps. She opens the bottom drawer, the one she never opens during business hours, the one that holds things too personal for her professional life. Her fingers fumble through old photographs until she finds it, a picture from 15 years ago at the company Christmas party. She's 29 in the photo, wearing a red dress, laughing at something off camera. Behind her, barely visible, is a young man in a catering uniform. Miguel. His eyes are fixed on her with an expression of such tender admiration that it takes her breath away even now. "Emma?" Margaret's voice is shaky as she returns to the couch. 15 years ago, before you were born, I knew your father. We cared about each other very much." Emma's eyes grow wide. "You were friends with my daddy?" "More than friends." Margaret shows Emma the photograph. "We fell in love, but I was scared. I thought love would make me weak, distract me from my career. So I ended things between us, even though it broke both our hearts." Emma stares at the photo, seeing her father's young face filled with happiness. He looked so different. Happier. He was happy. We both were, for a little while. Margaret's voice cracks slightly. 6 months after I ended our relationship, I heard through mutual friends that he'd gotten married to someone else. I was devastated, but I thought I'd lost my chance forever. "That was my mommy," Emma says softly. "Daddy says he met her when he was very sad about losing someone he loved. She helped heal his broken heart." Margaret nods, tears threatening to spill. "Your mother sounds like she was a wonderful woman." "She was. But Daddy still keeps a picture of you in his wallet." Emma's revelation hits like lightning. "I found it once when I was looking for lunch money. When I asked him about the pretty lady, he said you were someone very special who taught him how to dream big." Margaret's breath comes in short gasps. All these years, Miguel kept her picture. All these years, while she convinced herself she'd made the right choice, he was raising his daughter alone, working 3 jobs, delivering food to buildings like hers, and still carrying a piece of their love with him. "Emma, there's something else you need to know about your father and me." Margaret walks to her window, gazing down at the city streets where countless delivery drivers weave through traffic. "Your father didn't just teach me how to dream big, Emma. He saved my life." Emma slides off the couch and joins Margaret at the window. "What do you mean?" 15 years ago, I was working myself to death. Literally. I wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping, was taking pills to stay awake and pills to fall asleep. I thought success meant sacrificing everything, including my health. Margaret's reflection in the glass shows a woman confronting her past. "One night I collapsed in my office. It was Miguel who found me." "Was Daddy working there?" "He was part of the cleaning crew. It was almost midnight and I was unconscious on my office floor. Instead of just calling 911, he stayed with me. He held my hand in the ambulance, called my emergency contacts, made sure I wasn't alone." Margaret's voice grows tender with memory. When I woke up in the hospital, he was sitting beside my bed, still in his work uniform. Emma's eyes fill with tears. That sounds like my daddy. He always takes care of people. The doctors said I had severe exhaustion and malnutrition. I could have died if Miguel hadn't found me when he did. Margaret turns to face Emma directly. But what really saved me was what he said when I tried to thank him. What did he say? Margaret closes her eyes, remembering. He said, "Margaret, you're building an empire, but what good is ruling the world if you're too empty inside to enjoy it? Success without love is just expensive loneliness." Emma gasps. He still says things like that. He's always telling me that the richest people are the ones who have the most love in their lives. Those words changed everything for me. I started taking better care of myself, working reasonable hours, actually eating meals. And I fell in love with the man who saved me. Margaret's smile is bittersweet. Miguel was working nights and going to community college during the day, studying business. He dreamed of opening his own restaurant someday. He still dreams about that, Emma whispers. He draws pictures of his restaurant on napkins when he thinks I'm not looking. Margaret's heart breaks a little more. I was supposed to help him achieve that dream. We made plans together. But when the promotion to vice president came up, I panicked. I thought I had to choose between love and success. But Daddy would have helped you be successful. He believes in people's dreams. I know that now. But back then I was young and scared and stupid. Margaret kneels down to Emma's eye level. I broke up with your father because I thought love was a weakness. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Emma reaches out and touches Margaret's face gently. But maybe it wasn't a mistake. Maybe it was part of the plan. What do you mean? If you and Daddy had stayed together, I wouldn't exist. My mommy wouldn't have met him and loved him and had me. Emma's wisdom is startling. Maybe you had to let him go so he could become my daddy. And maybe I had to climb all those stairs today so you could find each other again. Margaret stares at Emma with growing amazement. You think this was meant to happen? Daddy always says there are no coincidences, only God's way of staying anonymous. Emma's smile is radiant. Think about it, Miss Margaret. Out of all the tall buildings in the city, I picked yours. Out of all the floors, I climbed to the very top. Out of all the offices, I walked into the one that belonged to the lady Daddy still loves. Still loves? Margaret's heart pounds. He talks to your picture sometimes when he thinks I'm asleep. He says things like, "I hope you found your happiness, mi amor. I hope someone is taking care of you." Emma's impression of her father's voice is spot on. Mi amor means my love in Spanish. He taught me that. Margaret feels the world shifting beneath her feet. Emma, has he ever dated anyone since your mother passed away? Never. People try to set him up sometimes, but he always says the same thing. I had two great loves in my life. One taught me how to dream, and the other gave me Emma. I'm a lucky man. Most people don't even get one. Tears stream down Margaret's face freely now. All these years she'd assumed Miguel had moved on, forgotten her, built a happy life without her. She'd used that assumption to justify her own emotional distance, her inability to connect with anyone else. Emma, I need to tell you something very important. Margaret takes the child's hands in hers. I never married. I never had children. For 15 years I've been alone because I could never forget your father. I compared every man I met to Miguel, and none of them measured up. Emma's eyes grow wide with understanding. You still love him too? I never stopped loving him. But I thought it was too late, that too much time had passed, that he'd never forgive me for leaving him. Daddy says forgiveness is like love. It only gets stronger when you give it away. Emma bounces on her toes. Miss Margaret, I think I know why I really came here today. Why? I thought I was looking for a mommy for my birthday. But maybe I was really looking for a mommy for always. And maybe I was looking for a wife for my daddy too. Emma's insight is breathtaking. Maybe my real mommy in heaven sent me here to fix what was broken. Margaret pulls Emma into a tight embrace, and for the first time in 15 years, she feels complete. Oh, Emma, you beautiful, wise little girl, what are we going to do? "We're going to go surprise Daddy at work," Emma declares with absolute certainty, "and you're going to tell him what you just told me." But what neither of them realized was that Miguel had been searching for Margaret too. Margaret's hands shake as she reaches for her phone. "Emma, before we go find your father, I need to cancel this meeting. But first, I need to ask you something very important." "Okay. Are you absolutely sure about this? If I call your father, if we see each other again, everything will change. Your life, his life, my life, there's no going back." Margaret searches Emma's face for any sign of doubt. This isn't just about one birthday anymore. Emma doesn't hesitate for even a second. "Miss Margaret, my daddy cries sometimes when he looks at your picture. He tries to hide it, but I see him. And you've been crying too, haven't you? For a long time." Margaret nods, unable to speak. "Then we have to try. Even if it's scary, even if it doesn't work out perfectly, we have to try because love is always worth trying." Emma's 8-year-old heart holds more wisdom than most adults accumulate in a lifetime. Margaret dials her assistant. "Sarah, cancel the Yamamoto meeting. Reschedule for next week." "Ma'am, this deal is worth $47 million. They've flown in from Tokyo specifically for today's presentation. Tell them something very important came up, something worth more than $47 million. Margaret looks at Emma's hopeful face. "Tell them I remembered what success actually means." Emma squeals with delight and claps her hands. "Are we really going to see Daddy now?" "We are. But Emma, I'm terrified. What if he doesn't want to see me? What if he's angry about the past? What if he's happy with his life the way it is and doesn't want me disrupting it?" Emma takes Margaret's hand with the confidence of someone who's never doubted love's power to heal. "Then we'll deal with that too. But I don't think that's what's going to happen." "How can you be so sure?" "Because when Daddy delivered food here last week, he spent a really long time looking up at your building. I asked him why, and he said, 'Sometimes I wonder if she ever thinks about us, Mika. Sometimes I wonder if she ever looks down and remembers.'" Margaret's breath catches. "He was here? Last week?" "He delivers to this building every Tuesday and Thursday. Always has for as long as I can remember. I used to think it was just a coincidence, but now," Emma grins, "now I think Daddy's been hoping to see you too, even if he doesn't admit it." Margaret moves to her desk and starts gathering her things, her purse, her coat, her keys. Her movements are purposeful, but her hands still tremble. "Emma, what if this ruins everything? What if your father thinks I'm trying to take advantage of you to get to him? Then I'll tell him the truth. That I picked you all by myself, that I climbed 52 flights of stairs because my heart told me to, that sometimes little girls know things that grown-ups forget." Emma walks over and straightens Margaret's jacket like a mother might. "And I'll tell him that you cried when you talked about him, and that you kept his picture all these years too." "I did keep his picture," Margaret admits softly. "It's in my wallet, right behind my driver's license." Emma's smile could power the entire building. "See? You were both keeping pieces of each other. Now we're going to put those pieces back together." As they prepare to leave the office that has been Margaret's sanctuary and prison for so many years, neither of them notices the figure in the lobby far below, looking up at the building's highest floor with longing in his eyes. The elevator ride down 52 floors feels like traveling through time itself. Margaret watches the numbers descend, each floor marking another step toward a future she never dared imagine. Emma stands beside her, practically vibrating with excitement, occasionally reaching up to squeeze Margaret's hand reassuringly. "He'll be at the Plaza District right now," Emma explains, checking the small digital watch on her wrist. Clearly, a treasured possession. "He always does the lunch delivery route from 11:30 to 2, sir. Then he picks me up from school at 3:15. Margaret glances at her Rolex. It's 1:47 p.m. "Emma, what if he's busy with customers? What if this isn't the right time?" "There's never a wrong time for love to find its way home," Emma says with the solemnity of an old soul. "That's what my mommy told Daddy in a dream once. He told me about it." As they reach the lobby, Margaret's steps slow. The familiar marble floors and polished brass fixtures that have always represented power and success now feel different, less like a fortress and more like a starting point. Emma tugs her toward the revolving doors, but Margaret stops. Wait, I need to know something first. Margaret kneels down, bringing herself to Emma's eye level. When you climbed all those stairs today, when you knocked on my door, what did you really hope would happen? Emma tilts her head thoughtfully. I hoped someone would want me, even just for one day. I hoped I could feel what it's like to have a mommy care about me. She pauses, then adds quietly, but mostly I hoped I wouldn't feel so lonely anymore. Margaret's heart fractures and rebuilds itself simultaneously. And now? Now I think maybe we were both lonely for the same reason. Maybe we were both missing each other without even knowing it. Emma's insight cuts straight to the truth. Miss Margaret, can I tell you a secret? Of course. Sometimes I pretend that the lady in Daddy's picture is my mommy who's still alive. I make up stories about what she's doing, whether she thinks about us, if she wishes she could come home. Emma's voice drops to a whisper. I never told Daddy because I didn't want to make him sad. Margaret pulls Emma into a fierce embrace. Oh, sweetheart. You beautiful, brave little girl, you've been carrying so much in that big heart of yours. But it's okay now, Emma says, pulling back with tears and smiles mixing on her face. Because now the lady in the picture is real and she's coming home with us. As they step out onto the bustling city street, Margaret realizes that somewhere in the past 2 hours, she's stopped thinking of this as Margaret's life and started thinking of it as their life. The transformation is terrifying and wonderful and absolutely irreversible. The Plaza District buzzes with lunch-hour energy. Office workers in expensive suits hurry past food trucks and outdoor vendors, everyone absorbed in their own urgent missions. Margaret feels completely out of place in her designer heels and tailored jacket, but Emma navigates the crowd with practiced ease. There's his bike, Emma shouts, pointing to a red delivery bicycle chained to a streetlight outside a sandwich shop. He decorates it with little flags I made him at school. Margaret sees the bicycle, and her heart stops. Tiny, colorful triangles flutter in the breeze, clearly crafted by Emma's careful hands and preserved with a father's love. A worn leather bag hangs from the handlebars, and she can see the corner of what looks like a thermos peeking out. He brings hot coffee for the security guards who have to work outside, Emma explains, noticing Margaret's gaze. Even when he can't afford coffee for himself. Daddy says kindness doesn't cost money, but it's worth more than gold. They approach the sandwich shop, and through the large windows Margaret sees him. Miguel, 15 years older, his hair touched with silver at the temples, laugh lines around his eyes that weren't there before. He's wearing a simple polo shirt and jeans, talking animatedly with the shop owner in a mixture of English and Spanish, his hands gesturing expressively as he tells what appears to be a funny story. He looks... Margaret's voice catches. He looks happy. He is happy. But it's different from how happy he looks in the old pictures with you. Emma studies her father through the glass. It's like he learned how to be okay without being complete, if that makes sense. It makes perfect sense to Margaret, who has spent 15 years mastering the exact same skill. Miguel emerges from the shop carrying a large bag of orders, and for a moment, he's walking directly toward them without looking up. Margaret's entire body freezes. This is it. After 15 years of wondering, regretting, hoping, and grieving, Miguel Rodriguez is 20 feet away and closing the distance. Daddy! Emma calls out before Margaret can stop her. Miguel's head snaps up, his face immediately brightening at the sight of his daughter. But then his eyes move slightly to the left, and he sees Margaret standing there in her expensive clothes, looking exactly like the successful woman he always knew she'd become, and nothing like the woman he remembered loving. The bag of food slips from his hands, sandwich containers scattering across the sidewalk. His face cycles through confusion, recognition, disbelief, and something that might be hope, or might be panic. Emma? His voice is hoarse with shock. Mija, what are you doing here? How did you... His eyes lock with Margaret's, and 15 years collapse into nothing. Dios mío, Margaret? Emma runs to her father, wrapping her arms around his waist. Daddy, I found her. I found the lady from your picture, and guess what? She's been looking for us too. Miguel stands frozen, his daughter clinging to him, while his eyes remain fixed on Margaret's face. The busy street seems to fade away, leaving only the three of them in a bubble of suspended time. "This isn't possible," he whispers in Spanish, then switches to English. "Margaret, why are you here? How do you know Emma?" Margaret takes a tentative step forward, her usual confidence completely abandoned. "She came to my office. She climbed 52 flights of stairs and asked me to be her mother for her birthday." Miguel's eyes widen in alarm. "Emma, you did what?" "Mija, you can't just go into people's offices. You could have been hurt or arrested or—" He stops, the full implication hitting him. "Wait. Your office? You mean she found you by accident?" "I don't think it was an accident," Emma pipes up, still holding tight to her father. "I think it was meant to happen. Daddy, she still has your picture in her wallet, and she cried when she talked about you. And she cancelled a really important meeting worth $47 million just to come find you." Miguel looks between his daughter and Margaret, struggling to process this impossible turn of events. "Emma, go sit on that bench for a moment, okay? I need to talk to Margaret alone. But Daddy, go, Mija, please, we'll be right here where you can see us." Emma reluctantly releases her father and walks to a nearby bench, close enough to watch, but far enough to give them privacy. Miguel bends down to collect the scattered food containers, his movements mechanical as he tries to organize his thoughts. "I can't believe you're here," he says quietly, not looking up. "I've imagined this moment so many times, but I never thought— you're Margaret Thompson now, CEO, Businesswoman of the Year. Why would you want anything to do with the delivery driver and his daughter?" Margaret kneels down beside him, helping gather the spilled food despite her expensive clothes. "Miguel, please look at me." He does, and she sees the boy she fell in love with still living behind his tired eyes. "I've regretted leaving you every single day for 15 years. I was young and scared, and I thought I had to choose between love and success. I was wrong about everything." "You weren't wrong," Miguel says softly. "Look at what you accomplished. Look at the empire you built. You became everything you dreamed of becoming." "I became empty," Margaret's voice breaks. "I have everything I thought I wanted and nothing that actually matters." When Emma asked me to be her mother today, it was the first time in 15 years that someone needed me for something other than my money, or my signature, or my business connections. Miguel stands slowly, and Margaret rises with him. They face each other on the busy sidewalk, two people who have lived entirely different lives since the day they said goodbye. "Margaret, I need you to understand something. Emma is my whole world. Everything I do, every choice I make, is for her. I can't let anyone hurt her, not even—" He pauses, unable to finish the sentence. "Not even me," Margaret completes. "Miguel, I would never hurt her. In the past 3 hours, she's given me more joy than I've felt in 15 years. She's remarkable and wise and brave, and she's exactly the daughter I never thought I deserved to have." Miguel's composure finally cracks. "She climbed 52 flights of stairs. She could have been killed." "Emma, why would you do something so dangerous?" "Because I wanted a mommy who was as strong as you are, Daddy," Emma calls from the bench, "and because my heart told me she was up there waiting for us." 6 months later, the Rodriguez Thompson Foundation hosts its first annual Unexpected Family Day in Central Park. Margaret, now working part-time by choice, watches Miguel teach a cooking class to single parents while Emma organizes games for children who've lost parents. 3 families form today, Emma announces proudly, running up to Margaret with grass stains on her dress and joy radiating from every pore. She now splits her time between 2 homes, but has gained so much more than she lost. Miguel joins them, flower in his hair from the cooking demonstration. His food truck business, funded by Margaret's investment, now employs 12 people and provides free meals to families in need every Sunday. "Remember when you thought you had to choose between love and success?" Miguel asks Margaret, watching corporate executives learn to make empanadas alongside their newly adopted children. Margaret kisses Emma's forehead, then Miguel's cheek. "Now I know they were always the same thing. Success is just love multiplied." Emma grins up at her parents. "Best birthday wish ever granted." Sometimes the family you're searching for finds you first. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe and hit that like button to help us share more stories about unexpected miracles.